Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Artist Block. Today we're going to be talking about art block. It's really ironic, isn't it? So when we talk about art block, we usually talk about the state of being where nothing really comes out with your artwork, or you don't really have anything coming out as far as your ideas or your designs. Nothing seems to be working the right way, and that's what we call artist block or art block. It's just a really bad state of mind. It's a mental thing. When we deal with art block, it's important not to lose your composure. It's something that you probably will end up doing because you feel inadequate about how your art's coming out. This thing isn't coming out the way I want it to, or I don't want this to show to anybody because it's not the right thing. I don't want this to be what people see me as. It's not good. It's not perfect. First of all, calm down. Art is important and it's got concrete rules despite it being an abstract process of thought. There are a couple things that you can do to get your art block out of the way, and hopefully I can help you. I have experience with the art block because I deal with it all the time, and it's one of the things that I really don't like about being an artist. It's one of those things that you always have to deal with, and as much as you hate it, as much as I hate it, as much as everyone hates it, it's important not to lose your composure. Oftentimes in an art block, things don't come out the right way, and sometimes it's really hard to actually make things properly. Planning is important, and actively taking breaks certainly helps too. It's a mental thing. It's a burnout type of thing. You don't want to sit there and make more things when you're burned out. You physically can't do it. Sometimes you just have to take a break. And as much as you want to keep going, as much as you have ideas flowing, sometimes you just have to stop and take a relaxation period, because sometimes it doesn't work. It won't work at all, and you'll try to make things and you just go deeper and deeper and deeper down the rabbit hole until you don't have any other things to do with it. So my first advice would be take a break. Taking a break is a perfectly healthy thing to do. We live in a society where we work too much, where we feel as if productivity at 100% is the norm. That is not what it should be. You should always take breaks. You should take care of yourself. You should be happy with where you are. You should always evaluate yourself from how far you've come to the point where you have the artist block, because you never know when you're going to evolve and have something new to share once you finish through the block. With all burnout, the best remedy is taking a break and trying new mediums and things that you aren't used to. When I get into an artist block, a lot of times I switch things up. If I'm doing drawing too much and I'm having a burnout in drawing, I'll just switch over to sculpture and I'll do some metal sculpting for a while. And that is a way to relieve the stress, because a lot of times it's sometimes just doing too much of one thing and you get all these ideas and you have no way to release them. I just go to sculpture. Sculpture is one of my favorite things to do. I like making metal pieces. I like welding things together. I like putting things together. I like heating things up and watching it melt. And that's a good way to release for me, because this is a new medium that I'm not usually working in. And that's something that people should keep in mind. You could always go to something else. Work through your pieces, even if they don't come out the right way. What I mean by that, work through, sometimes even if you don't want to switch mediums, maybe sometimes you just need to draw some shapes until you get something. A lot of times drawing shapes can be a good way to help, or just working through a piece and eventually looking back at the piece and saying, okay, I did this piece. Because you can always go back to it. You can always try again no matter what medium you're in, even if it costs money to make. Like, I know sculpture can be a pretty bad example because it's $100 to get a really big sheet of metal to try a new project again. But sometimes it's a necessity. Sometimes you have to work through something and it may not come out the right way, but you can always come back and do it over again. That's something that always happens, and it's something that you can keep in mind when you're working. Watch movies or look at other arts and other pieces to help fuel you, because you can always get better ideas and you can always get the thoughts flowing, and you can come up with something interesting if you just look at somebody else's medium or somebody else's ideas. Imitate their work. That might help too, because imitation sometimes leads to some of your better pieces. Because if you look at other people's art, and sometimes it's inescapable, especially in the media world we live in today, where everything is pretty regulated and you see everything on social media, you see everything on the internet, or you see it when you're going out. It's a good way to find a new medium and find a place that you can look at something and say, okay, I want to try to do that. And you just try it. Eventually you'll get to the point where you feel as if you're able to move on your own without other people's ideas, and that's a good way to work. Inspiration is your greatest ally. Just keep that in mind. It's always the biggest part when it comes to being an artist. Don't ever say that, anybody, that I can't do this or I can't do that because I don't have inspiration. You got inspiration all around you. And if you're having trouble with inspiration, a good rule of thumb for me, and I found this especially helpful about a year ago, I found that if I just cut off all ties with everything, I just stopped looking at the internet, I stopped looking at the social media that I always was a part of, and I just went out in the world and I just decided to look at things, see things in a different light, draw them out. Bring a little sketchbook with you if you're going out and just draw things out the way you see them. You might find some of your best pieces come from those works that you just work on, and eventually it'll move on into your better pieces when you do your real proper pieces. And that's really important too. When you break free from your block, you'll have many ideas, but try to take your time with them. That's another thing that I notice a lot of people do. Take your time with your art, because a lot of times people will go out into the world and they'll say, I have all these ideas, I'm gonna do them right away. That's not a really good idea. In fact, that sometimes can lead to your burnout to come back even faster, because if you're going to work with other pieces and other ideas, if you're dripping it like a faucet and you just slowly tweak the wheel, those drips will come and you regulate your time so you have plenty of things to do and talk about. Write your things down so you don't constantly run out of new ideas to do things, because if you let that faucet just explode and just go at full blast all the time, you're gonna burn out really quickly, and all those ideas are probably gonna lead you to a bad mental state. So my advice, you might want to just take it easy, and even if you have some ideas, just hold on to them for a little while, mull them over. Do you really want to do that idea, or do you want to do something else, or do you want to incorporate it into a bigger project? Because that helps too. Don't beat yourself up when you think about your art. Sometimes it can be hard to say that your art is good or your art is, the best thing ever when you're going through a mental state. And that's understandable. It's one of those things that you have to work through and you have to think cautiously about, and you have to remember, my art is okay. Everything that I'm doing is fine. Even if it's not coming out the right way, it's just a phase. If you keep through it and you work with your discipline that you've achieved, you will be just fine. You don't want to go out of line and work on things and eventually you just give up, because if you give up, you're going to lose the thing that you worked so hard to achieve, and you're going to end up hurting yourself in the long run as far as your hobby or your career is concerned. Take breaks, be healthy, be happy, eat some good vegetables, all kinds of things like that. Take care of yourself. Go get a spa treatment. It's all mental, and once it gets out of that, you will be just fine, okay? Everything will come in due time. Everything will come in due time, and you'll be just fine. This has been Noodle Dog talking about art block. I'm going through it myself, so I'm working through it, and I'm posting it on YouTube so you guys can see what I'm working on. If you like this video, subscribe, comment, tell me what you guys think about this topic. Tell me your experiences with artist block, and what do you do to help yourself? And what do you do to help others? See you later, everybody. Take good care of yourself. Bye.